Hello, welcome back to Facebook Ads Measurement and Mastery 2017. This is video number 3. In this video, we're going to talk about reconciling results across sources and finding the real meaning in your results. All right, so let's get into it. Now, just a brief recap of video 1 and 2. So video 1, we talked about attribution windows. We talked about how Facebook counts results. Amongst other things, video 2, we talked a lot about LTV and why it's important to measure the right metrics. We also looked at how to track your results the right way in Ads Manager. Well, I shouldn't say the right way, but an efficient way to track your results in a column setup that we prefer, how to export it to Excel and do some further analysis, breakdowns, roll-ups, all that good stuff. So if you haven't seen video 2, video 1, they're not prerequisites for this video. These are all can stand on their own for the most part, but they will be helpful, especially as we talk about some of the subject matter here in reconciling results. Okay, so let's get going here for this video. Just a reminder, our goal of this course is, kind of our mantra is if you're making decisions on bad or misinterpreted data, you're wasting major money. So again, the topic of analytics, the topic of data, and data science, data discovery, whatever you want to call it, it can be dry. People might consider it boring, but at the end of the day, this is the fuel that feeds our marketing engine. The data is the market coming back to you and giving you feedback on what's working, what you should scale, the offers that are resonating with your business. So the data really is the key to unlocking growth and unlocking the next, taking your business to the next level. All right, so let's get going here. Again, our overall goal here, let's increase ROI and let's improve our profitability and grow our business. So let's preview what we're going to talk about in video 3. So the first thing we're going to talk about is this quote, which I hear all the time, probably pretty much for every client we work with and every coaching client, everyone. My Facebook ad reporting does not match what Google Analytics says or whatever other source. Facebook's data is not accurate. They don't know what they're doing. The tracking is off, or my tagging's wrong. So those are the common complaints that we hear, and we're going to talk about this problem, why it exists, and we're going to talk about how we can correct the issue to the best of our abilities, but also how that we can work within the constraints and kind of the rules of how all these platforms work together. And this will save you a ton of time of going on these witch hunts and so forth, trying to reconcile data. So then after we talk about why, we're going to talk about who should you trust when making decisions, what can you do? So given that these platforms are going to be different, what should you look at primarily and why? What can you do with it? So let's get into it. So Facebook ad reporting is wrong. So what I'm talking about here is when someone goes into Ads Manager, typically what they're doing is, especially for, it seems to be like smaller advertisers where every single conversion is a big deal. If you're a smaller advertiser, the difference between 3 conversions and 4 conversions is a big difference. Whereas for bigger advertisers, 300 versus 308 or whatever, it's not that big of a deal. If we're talking about 300 conversions in Facebook, 308 in Google Analytics, or 300 conversions in Facebook and 285 in your database. So why does this happen? Again, I'm mainly thinking about, we're mainly talking about conversion data. So these are conversions that are getting sent back to your ad account from your pixel. And there's a lot of reasons why why reconciling the digital reporting across sources is very difficult. Okay, so let's go through some of these. Okay. Number 1, client-side tracking technologies, which all of these are based on, right? So Google Analytics, Facebook reporting, pretty much any advertising or analytics platform is based on what's called client-side tracking. So that means when the user loads your page or loads your website, there's a JavaScript library that's loaded into the page, and then we can fire tags based on that library. Well, the thing is, people have different browsers. People have old versions of browsers. People have different network connection speeds. People have ad blockers. There's a lot of things in the user's browser which we have no control over. And a lot of those things can disrupt our tagging and disrupt the flow of data from your website back to Google Analytics or Facebook or whatever. So the most common issues are ad blockers. Some ad blockers block these kind of requests. We have network speed's an issue because we have to pull down all that JavaScript. It's usually not huge relative to other things on your site, the JavaScript files themselves, but it does take time. And sometimes people click through pages so quickly or click things and we don't have time to fire our tags before the page changes. So inherently, client-side tracking is kind of a best effort technology. We're relying on cookies, we're relying on browsers. These things are not permanent people-level tracking technologies, right? So that's number one. And that's just going to be true pretty much until someone comes up with a better way to do cookies and all that good stuff. I mean, we have local storage and session storage now as different APIs you can use for persisting data over time in the browser, but that still doesn't solve the issue really. So this will be a limitation until something major changes. The second thing would be different platforms measure results differently. And this is the biggest one. Google Analytics, and we're going to look at an example in a second. I'm going to give you an illustration of this. In Google Analytics, first of all, Google Analytics can see all of your marketing channels. So what I mean by that is if someone comes into your site from somewhere, be it clicking a link in an email you send them, clicking a link in a Facebook ad, clicking a AdWords ad link, all these different channels drive traffic to your site, right? Well, Google Analytics can see all those click-through activities. And what Google Analytics does is, by default, in their kind of default setup, whatever channel generated the session in which the conversion occurs is going to get 100% of the credit for that conversion. Okay, and this will be more clear when we go through the example, but just to give you a quick preview, if someone, for example, if someone clicks your Facebook ad and then they opt in, your ad is driving them to a squeeze page to opt in for a lead magnet, and they opt in, and then you send them an email and they click the email and then they convert after clicking on the email in that session, Google Analytics will give all the conversion value to the email channel for that and whatever email campaign you had running, right? So even though Facebook drove the lead, Google Analytics would give all the credit to email. Now there are other attribution models that you can use in Google Analytics. If you go to multi-channel attribution, I think is the name of the report, but honestly, none of them are there is no perfect answer for out-of-the-box attribution in Google Analytics or almost any analytics tool. The level of sophistication and data crunching you need to pull off multi-channel attribution in a way where we're deriving calls, because that's what we're after. The truth of the matter is what caused the person to do this and how much calls can be attributed to email versus the Facebook ad, because you can argue both ways, right? That type of analysis is not going to happen in Google Analytics. It's just not built for that. There are attribution tools I'll mention towards the end of this video, but they're super expensive at this point. There are, I'm sure, lots of companies working on this. We actually have something that we're working on to kind of help solve this problem. But just know that Google Analytics, they track whatever drives the last session as they give all the credit to that channel. Okay. Now Facebook, on the other hand, you know how we said Google Analytics can see all channels. They can see email, they can see paid search, they can see all these other channels that are driving traffic. Facebook only sees Facebook. So they also give credit based on last interaction, as you know from video 1. If you didn't watch video 1, go check that out. That's what we go all the way through how Facebook counts results. Okay, so we got to keep that in mind. If Facebook drives the last click, like let's say, for example, someone clicks one of your Facebook ads and then they convert in that session, both Google Analytics and Facebook will attribute that conversion to Facebook. However, there's one big caveat that we're going to talk about in a minute that no one talks about, and it has to do with when that conversion gets reported. Okay, so we'll look at that in a second. Now, other analytics platforms typically operate similar to Google Analytics. So if you're using like Heap Analytics or Wicked Reports, they have options to use different attribution setups. But at the end of the day, your database is going to be your most ironclad source of truth, because obviously the payments are coming in there. I'm talking about if you have like an Infusionsoft or Shopify, wherever your orders are getting stored, that's going to be the actual record of truth. Okay. So the three reasons why are the three main reasons: client-side tracking technologies flawed, different platforms measure results differently, and the last one is user error / not being thorough with your tagging and your testing. So if you're sending bad data in from your tagging, then that's just going to completely exacerbate the problem and make it worse. So again, I know I plugged this in the last video, but I don't see a lot of people out there getting help with tagging, or they don't know where to turn to get help. So remember that we have the Facebook Pixel Guide at funnelboom.com/FBP. That's FBP. That's Fred Bravo. I forget the I forget the call out for P, but P is in Paul. So Fred Bravo Paul. Man, I really should brush up on that. So funnelboom.com/FBP is the FunnelBoom Pixel, or the Facebook Pixel implementation guide. It's free / pay what you want, just like this course was. And if you want to learn how to do it with Google Tag Manager the right way, you can learn it there. If you don't care to learn, funnelboom.com/taghelp, TAGHELP, and you can contact us for an audit or to get help with fixing your funnel, or whatever tagging help you need. And yeah, we're pretty well versed in that, so happy to help you. Okay, so let's go to our demo that we talked about. So one second here. Okay, so let's go through an example / illustration here. So I've got the answer blurred out for now. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to try to guess at how this scenario would be attributed in Google Analytics and Facebook. So the scenario is that, let's say that I'm your target, I'm your person receiving your Facebook ads, and on Monday I receive Facebook ad 1. Okay, so I'm going to call this Facebook ad 1. So I get one of your ads, and it's got a link to your website. So I click over to your website, I view several pages, and then I'll leave. I don't do anything, I don't convert, but I do go to your site. Then on Thursday, I get Facebook ad number 2, so a different ad, and this time I see the ad, but I don't click it. Okay. Then Friday, I have some free time. I'm like, hey, I remember that ad that I clicked through on Monday. I'd like to learn more about what that business is. So I go on Google, I search for your brand name, and then I click up one of the natural search listings, and then I go to your website. I view a couple of pages, I make a purchase for $25. Now the question is, how does Google Analytics attribute this sale? Like, who gets the credit for it? And then how does Facebook attribute this sale? Now if you watch video 1, you should be able to get the Facebook one correct. But there's one little nuance here that we're going to introduce that is really important and not many people talk about. Okay. All right, so do you have the answer? Maybe think about how you want to answer this. I'll give you a second, write it down, maybe pause the video. Okay, so let's talk about the solution. So starting with Google Analytics. So remember we talked about Google Analytics sees all channels. So they see any session originated on your website. So let's just go from start to beginning. So when you click this Facebook ad, assuming you have your UTM parameters set up correctly, UTM source, UTM medium, all that good stuff, Facebook will get your UTM source, might be Facebook, and the campaign name, all that information, whatever you put into UTM parameters, right? I'm talking about like this, UTM source equal Facebook, and UTM medium equal whatever. So I'm talking about query string parameters. So what comes after the question mark? That's how Google Analytics gets the detailed tracking information about where you came from outside of the referrer that's built in to the request when the page loads. Okay, so when you click this first ad, you're going to go to the site. Google Analytics is going to record this session. They're going to see that you came from Facebook. Okay, so that's been established. And then you leave. Thursday, you see an ad. Well, Google Analytics doesn't know if you see a Facebook ad. They only know if you click one. So since you didn't arrive on the site as a result of that ad, Facebook or Google Analytics doesn't know anything about this interaction. But then Friday, when you search for the brand name on Google and you go to the site again and make this purchase, Google is going to attribute that to what I call like natural search or organic search. So that channel is going to get credit, 100% credit for the sale, because this is the session where the conversion and the purchase took place, right? So in this case, credit will go to natural search, $25, using Google Analytics default setup, and the conversion would show up as occurring on Friday in your reporting. Now this might seem like common sense, but now you're going to see why it's quite the opposite. Now Facebook, so let's look at how Facebook would count this. So you click the ad, go to the site, okay? Then you view an ad, and you convert on Friday. Now let's assume we're using Facebook's default attribution window, which again we talked about in video 1, attribution windows. So default attribution would be 28 days from a click or 1 day from a view, right? So this could qualify for 1 day from a view. It's been 1 day since a view. Could also qualify for 28 days after a click. We're well within that range for 5 days later. But which one of the ads gets the credit? It's the click, because clicks override views. So Facebook typically gives credit and dedupes conversions across your campaigns and ad sets and ads based on the last ad that you interacted with, but clicks override views in the case that there's, you saw many ads, it would be the last one clicked, or if you only viewed ad, the last one viewed. Now the interesting thing here, and the thing that most people miss, and this causes a ton of questions and headaches, is when this shows up. So the conversion happens on Friday, but if I go to Facebook Ads Manager and I break down my results by day, this conversion and the value will show up on Monday. Okay, and I'll put some links to supporting documentation in case you don't believe me on this. I'll put some links below this video to an article about how Google Analytics counts results, and then a support article about Facebook counting results. Okay, so you'll see by default that Facebook reports the conversion on the day that the ad interaction took place, not the day or the time that the conversion took place. Now this makes a huge difference in how you report, because what could happen is if let's say you run a campaign for 14 days, and then at the end of the campaign you generate a report and you say, okay, well, we sold, we spent $50 on this campaign and we generated $200 in sales. Okay, awesome. So we had a decent ROI. Right, but the thing is, so you generated that report right after the campaign ended. But remember that in default attribution, we're looking for 28 days after a click. I mean, even if you're using the conservative attribution window of 7 days after a click, right? So if we had this campaign ran from day 0 to day 14, and then on day 14 it ends, and I'm in a hurry to send my awesome results to my manager or my client, and I generate my reports, I send them out, and they say, hey, great, we made $200 on $50 spent. That's awesome, right? But then the thing is, if you looked again, like assume again we're on 7-day click-through only, at day 20, I've now had 7 more days for the people, up to people on day 13. That's 7 days to convert, and those numbers would show up on day 13, right? Or whenever they interacted with the ad. So all of this in here, after the campaign ends, after you generate your report, and then where the conversion window is still active, or the attribution window, excuse me, is possible missed information and missed data. You may have seen this before. If you pull a report and then look back later and say, why are the numbers different? Well, the numbers are different because the conversion gets attributed back to the day of the interaction, not the day of the conversion. So this is really important. Think about this from the perspective of launching a new campaign, right? Again, even on the most conservative attribution windows, we're looking at 7-day click-through attribution. And people you might get a bunch of clicks on day 1 and day 2, but it might take people a couple days to warm up and convert, right? So if all your conversions start coming in on day 5, all of a sudden this is going to make a huge difference in how Facebook's optimizing your delivery to the best audiences. So, if nothing happens for the first 5 days, we're tempted to say, well, forget this campaign. It's not working. We're just burning money with no conversions. But depending on the nature of your product and your service, how expensive it is, and the familiarity of the visitors with your business, if there's a cold audience, we don't want to kill these things too quick. In video 2, we talked about the Paul Rudd technique for ad management, which is do less. Just do less. Okay, we don't need to be pausing campaigns and killing campaigns anytime, in my opinion, before day 4, unless there's just something that's clearly off, like something functionally is wrong with the ad. Maybe the link is wrong, or your lead event's not firing, or whatever. But in terms of just looking at performance, this fact here makes a huge difference. And also, if you know this, it'll save you a lot of time of reconciling Facebook to Google Analytics or Facebook to your database, right? Because in this situation, your database would align with the date of the conversion. The value and the conversion value is going to come in on the day of the conversion. So if Facebook would show Monday, your database would show Friday. So if I compared Friday Facebook versus Friday database, it's going to be completely different, and that's expected just because of how they attribute conversions. Okay. All right, let's see here. I believe that's it for now. If you have any questions, post them in the comments. Try to get some comments below these videos so people can ask questions. We have one more thing to cover. So the last thing I'll do is plug video 4, which is the bonus video of this series. Now, I know a lot of these videos have been somewhat long-winded. They've been, hopefully you've gained a lot of valuable information. I know that, unfortunately, there's a lot of foundational stuff and kind of preliminary information for me to cover before we get into some of the more advanced stuff. And so I hope that these first 3 videos have been very valuable for you. I hope they've changed the way that you look at your results and how you're going to make decisions. I will say video 4, the bonus video, we're going to talk about the 5 most common performance draining mistakes we see from Facebook advertisers of all sizes. And these are above and beyond what we've already talked about when it comes to data and tracking. So these are going to be more strategic / interpretation of how to use the Facebook platform the right way, or how to use Facebook effectively, Facebook ads effectively. I think you're going to really get a kick out of this video, and there's going to be some really cool stuff in there. So definitely check out video 4. This does kind of conclude the mini course. I do want to plug one more thing. If you've enjoyed this, if you like this style, we have another course that's going to be available soon. If it's either available now or it's going to be available soon, depending on when you watch this video. It's called Awesome Facebook Ads Done Quick. Now, this is a lot of I found that people wanted to pay us just to watch how we do ads, just to say, hey, I'd just like to watch how you set up a campaign. I'd just like to see what you think when you're setting up a campaign. I think there's a lot of advertisers in this boat where they're beyond the beginner stage. They understand the Facebook ad interface, but they need actionable information and maybe just some guidance on just a view of how other people do stuff and what's working for them. So what we did is we took a client who agreed to let us use their account as kind of a guinea pig, and we kind of started from square one from the very beginning, and went all the way from doing our setup process to launching campaigns and making optimization adjustments. I kind of give you my thoughts as I'm going through the campaigns on why I'm making the decisions that I am. And so if you're a beginner to intermediate Facebook advertiser, maybe even even for you more advanced folks, I think you'll get a real some really good information out of there, and it'll be well worth your money. Again, that course is more straight to the point. There's not many slides or anything. You're literally pretty much just watching over my shoulder as I'm setting stuff up. And I think that's what people want. They want direct, to the point, actionable advice. There's only about 3 hours of video in the whole course, but we cover a ton of ground, pretty much the full spectrum of Facebook ad activities. So check that out. Awesome Facebook Ads Done Quick is the name of the course. I'll put a link to it below this video once we have the course page up. I got all the videos recorded. I just need to get the sales page and connect it to MemberMouse and all that good stuff. So thank you guys again so much for going through this with me. I hope this has been helpful. Stick around for the bonus video. And if you have any questions, hit us up on Facebook Messenger. We're Funnel Boom on Facebook. Hit us up there if you have questions, you need help with tagging, you want us to look at your funnels. We also have a course on quizzes coming out soon, which is going to be really cool. We're doing some awesome stuff with quizzes. Our clients are getting incredible results. Leads for less than 50 cents, sometimes less than 30 cents. And that's to US very competitive niches. And we're also using the quizzes to do immediate upsells and personalization. So be on the lookout for that too. I'll hit you guys up with an email or a messenger notification when that course is close to launching. But yeah, so this is Andrew with Funnel Boom, and thanks again.